Hi everyone, I'm a Rosenblum,
And I'm Jes2G.
and welcome to Simmer's Gab.
Welcome.
Yay! So for our episode this week, we're going to talk about sim relationship development, kind of from the viewpoint as a writer. Some things we love, some things we don't love, some things that just happen. Right?
Yeah,
Sound good? Okay.
absolutely. Sounds like fun.
Yay! All right. So to get us started, I have a question for you, Jess.
All right.
So way back when, last September slash August, when they started marketing Sims 4, it was really this big focus on how our Sims were going to experience emotions from all different kinds of levels, all different kinds of emotions, which
Hmm.
was different than any of the previous Sims games up until that point.
Right.
So, as a writer, and a reader and a player of the game, do you think that this range of emotions really affect the relationship development as far as is it different from the way TS3 was? And do you think that it really is more writer focused, or you know what I mean? Like, is it developed
Hmm.
because you're a writer, or is it because it's really that different, or something else, or some combination thereof?
Yeah.
Yay.
I think it's a little of both, actually.
Okay.
Um, I mean, honestly, I don't think that the emotions work exactly the way they marketed it. Like I remember that one trailer where they had the guy and it was like 12 hours of his life and they showed like him presently, but then they backed up some hours to show what happened to him, then
Right.
they backed up some hours. And to me that said, okay, what happens to you in the past can affect your present.
Yeah.
And I don't really see that happening that much because I mean they don't stay in the same state for that long,
Right. Right. Right.
especially when you have mood enhancing things around your house or whatever. But yeah, I mean they don't stay in the same state. So, but I do think the emotions are better in this game than they are than they well yeah because Sims 3 is still around than
Yeah.
they are in a Sims 3. They definitely feel deeper, I think,
Right.
but because I am a writer and I do write about relationships. I mean, that's what
You
legacy
do?
challenges are all about.
I
It's
must not be
just
reading the right story.
right, it's relationship after relationship after relationship. Um, I do think we see more into it than maybe there really is. Um, for the sake of the story.
Okay.
I mean, not saying that we do things that aren't there, although I have done that a few times.
I don't know what you're talking
But
about.
yeah, but yeah, like I think we kind of see things that we want to see
Okay.
as a writer, or
Yeah.
we'll take one thing and like make it this whole, big scene or whatever. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay. Do you feel like, okay, so one thing that I thought was going to happen, and I'm not sure that I feel it,
Hmm.
like how I feel like it was maybe something, an article I read early on, was that like if a sim was often rejected or something like that, they'd be less likely to want to get into a committed relationship. Do you feel like that's something that happens, or that they would have trouble with relationships in general? Like, I was under the impression, and maybe I just misread something, that like if parents were having a problem and the kids saw it, like that would somehow like implant on their head and they would have trouble getting into a relationship later on. Do you see that in your game, or
I don't, and I actually read that too. So
okay.
you're not imagining things, and that was something that excited me. I'm like, wow, this could really really have a whole new dynamic to the game. But no, I
Okay.
don't see that at all.
Yeah.
It's kind of disappointing, but whatever.
Right. Yeah. That's funny. Okay, so like you were saying before, you may or may not have written once or twice about relationships. What do you think is the once or twice? That's like nine generations of once or twice.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that the way the relationship progresses, romantic relationships, friendships, and then like relationships between familial relationships. Do you think it's different from sim to sim, or do you think it doesn't really matter which sim you have, things are going to kind of progress the same?
I definitely think it's different from sim to sim. I mean, some sims, they meet, they click, and it's just wonderful. It's like, oh, how come all
The
my other
angels
sims can't
come
be like you?
down.
Yeah. Um, but some sims, it's like pulling teeth. And it's like, okay, are you guys not really meant to be together? Or, is it just this person's more cautious? Or I don't know, but yeah, I think it's definitely not a cookie cutter thing.
Yeah, that's like right now with Avalon and her relationship thing. It's like
Hmm.
I so thought that like her, okay, because Avalon would win anytime her and Glenn have been on the same um,
Lot.
lot together. She will get a whim to cloud gaze with him or talk to him. And so I'm like, okay, she clearly likes this dude. Some way, shape, or form, she's got to like him. Then I put them together and they're both always doing this. I was like, but you're the one who wants to hang out with him. And then
Hmm.
without spoiling, but she's starting to see someone, and that sim that she's seeing, the relationship bar in like 5 seconds that they hang out, it's like whoop, full. And I was like, you've been
Yeah,
hanging out with Glenn since you were like a
a child.
pipsqueak, and you can't. So I mean, that's kind of real life, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
it's kind of cool.
guess.
I mean, like, I like that it's that. Well,
Mm,
in general, I like that it's that way. It's frustrating when it happens,
right.
but I mean, I kind of wish that after they get over the hump and they are in a relationship, I kind of wish that was different too, because I mean, pretty much once they're together, all the Sims are the same to me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, they all get whims to, go kiss someone and they autonomously hug, and that's so sweet. I love it, but it's like, yeah,
Yes.
I've seen that before.
Yeah, I
Even though
guess,
it's sweet every time,
right? Isn't it so
every
cute when
time.
like an adult or a teen or somebody like goes to hug like a child when they get like a little bent down and
Yes.
stuff? That makes my heart happy.
That is so cute. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree. I think it's I mean, if you're putting two Sims together who belong together,
Hmm.
um I think it's good because or I think it's the same. Like I mean, I find that Brandon and Thalia's relationship, because they really are good Sims together. They don't really clash. It's nice. I find that, but I find that it's very much like Peyton's relationship was with, even though it was short, with Anthony, and those who have come before her. But then
Hmm.
there are those Sims that don't fit together that we force together, and those ones are kind of fun too, right?
Yeah. Actually, Jeanette and Julian were kind of hard to get together.
Have you been lying to us this whole time about that?
No, no,
Well, I
because
guess
I
it was
mean,
hard. They had like a hard time getting together, and
they
from
did.
reading it.
They did. I mean, they were best friends, so it's not like they didn't like each other, but actually getting them romantically involved,
Hmm.
it was tough. I'm like, you guys have to like each other because you're in my story and it has to work. Come on. But I mean, like, I was kind of scared for a little while. It's like, if you guys don't get it together, I don't know what I'm going to do because you're going to ruin my thing we have going here.
I've written this up to be something so big.
Right. It's like, I don't want you to marry Rose, but you just might have to do that if Jeanette doesn't get her act together, man.
And how's their relationship now? I mean,
Oh, it's great.
okay. They do like
That's
the
what I mean.
autonomous
Like,
stuff.
once you get over all that awkward stuff,
Yeah.
all the Sims relationships are the same. They're all loving, can't get enough of each other, you know.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I think like with Thalia and Brandon, I find that if their romantic or their friendship bar goes down, they
Hmm.
seek each other out to fill it back up.
Wow.
Yeah, like it's interesting to me because
How does it go down?
like if they haven't talked to each other, or they have like, or if they've only talked to each other and they haven't done something romantic like kiss or woohoo
Mm.
or something like that, the pink will slide down a little bit, and vice versa. Like if they woohoo and make out but they don't actually spend time talking, their friend, and it goes, I mean, when I say goes down,
Yeah.
I'm like say
Fractions.
right, and
Yeah.
but it's funny because they always seek each other out to fill it.
That's
Wh-
cool.
yeah, which I think is cute.
I
Although
don't think I've ever seen Julian and Jeanette's bars down
oh,
ever.
well, that's because Thalia spends a significant amount of time auto mourning out in the yard, and Brandon's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going
Right.
out there to sulk. So her bar goes down.
I
Um,
gotcha.
so so yeah, I mean, I guess it is true though. Like once you get over that, they are kind of they're kind of one dimensional.
Yeah. And it's nice. I just wish that there were some variety with some pairs, but there isn't.
It's okay, you know. S- So I was thinking, I forget what you said that made me think about it. Oh, you were talking about something about how um like relationships, once people like once they've made a friendship or something like that, and then you're like, what happens? You're like, either they go to like this romance place, or then they're friends and you're like, okay, so how do we make it different this go?
Right.
Do you remember back in TS3 how you would get like a call if it had been like a long time, like, oh, so and so hasn't heard from you, or you might want to reach out to them. Oh,
Man, you know what I miss? I miss the phone call breakups.
oh my
I know it's terrible, but but I really do because like, all right. So with my legacy game, of course, I'm a lot more micromanaging than I am with my other saves.
God. Okay.
But in The Sims 3, I micromanaged everyone, because I wanted them to like, do their aspirations and, all this stuff and stuff I wanted them to do. So, let's say they would get a whim to, ask so and so to go steady or whatever. Okay, cool. You have a girlfriend now. But kind of similar to real life, I'm not really that good with keeping up with relationships.
Yeah.
I'm just not that good at following up and keeping in touch and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I would do the same thing with my Sims. So they would have this significant other
I
that
can
they
see where
hadn't
this is going.
seen in 2 weeks. And so the other person would be like, you know what? You're clearly not interested in this relationship anymore. It's over. And I'm like, okay. Yeah,
It was way too much work.
it really
It
was.
was way too much work
Because, I
to
mean,
ignore
like,
you.
no, it was because, I mean, well, to me, um, I thought it was extremely hard to maintain even friendships in The Sims 3 because it seems like the friendship bar would like drastically decay. I
Hmm.
mean, I remember I would have my Sims come home from work, have dinner, and then I would have them call all of their friends one after the other. Because, I mean, if you didn't, you wouldn't be friends anymore. And of course, well, you don't know anything about the careers.
I know a little bit
But
about the careers. Don't be This is where I started to lose. This is when I stopped caring about careers, when you had to have friends.
yes, that was so hard.
I cannot
So
maintain
hard.
5 friendships. Get out of here.
Like 8 friendships when you
I,
get, high up
I,
in the food chain, man.
I don't need 8 friends. Go away.
Seriously.
Yeah, you're right though. They were a lot harder to maintain. Although
Mhm.
I find that they dwindle pretty quick in here. You just don't get the warning about it, so it's not
I
such a
don't
big
think,
deal.
well, yeah, it's quick, but it's not nearly as quick as before. Because I can not call my friends and still have them.
It's been working so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what else? Remember? Okay, so speaking of notifications, do you
Hmm.
remember in The Sims 3 how you would get a notification when somebody was like on their deathbed, and they'd be like, you might want to give so and so a call? I don't care.
It's like, this person is in China. You want me to fly to China to go see this person because they're dying?
Yeah,
No.
yeah. And you don't get anything out of it. I remember
No.
thinking like, oh, I'll get an inheritance or something if I'm friends with this, but not that.
Inheritance.
You know what I mean? Like maybe they'll leave me some money in their will. Nope,
Yeah,
doesn't it
no.
doesn't matter if you're friends with them or not. You didn't get money from there. passing. Not that that's the
Right.
only reason I'd be friends with somebody.
Uh-huh. Right.
Just kidding. Sorry, I love you all.
Right.
Yeah, but I guess you're right. It's kind of like not easy to do. They didn't make it easy in The Sims 3. They made it a little
No.
easier in Sims 4 for sure.
And I am forever grateful.
Yeah, and people are always where you show up, which is nice too. Like
Yeah.
whatever community lot you show up at, a lot of the people you're friends with or acquaintances with will generate there, so you can
That's true.
try to
That's true.
chat with them and be like, "Hey, let's have a drink. Our friendship's up. Bye." Not saying
Exactly.
that.
I have to go home and play chess now
Yeah,
because my logic skill raised by 3 points by
yeah.
tomorrow.
Um, yeah. So, you know, speaking of like doing things like that and developing, do you think that you develop, okay, would you develop relationships the way you develop them if you weren't a writer? And like, you know what I mean?
That's a good one.
Thanks.
Uh,
I spend all day thinking of questions to ask you.
and I like answering questions, but probably not. So let me see. I have a few other saves apart from my legacy one that I do play.
Okay.
Now, true, a lot of them I have aging off or I'm on the long life because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's just hard on the normal life, man, when you have stuff you need to accomplish. But so I don't have that pressure of needing to find someone for my sim or, you know, kind of nudging them toward X person.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to say yes, but with a caveat.
Okay.
So, can I say yes and no?
It's half your show, so I guess.
Okay. So, okay. I'll say yes because I do like for my Sims to find someone on their own,
Okay.
you know, because obviously they're going to have to like this person if they're going to spend the rest of their 20 days with 40 days or whatever. Um, so, yes, in that way, I do play my story saves and my non story saves the same.
Okay.
But in the story ones, especially the legacy, you kind of have to meet someone and you kind of have to get married. And I mean, like, this is not negotiable. So if they're dragging their feet or there's not anyone available, which has happened a million times,
Yeah.
I have to introduce people into the world. And I'm like, okay, we have to go to this person's house because there's no way for you to know them and blah, 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 blah. And, you
Right.
know, so I end up influencing a lot in those situations. But I still kind of would like for them to show an interest in, you know,
Right.
themselves. So yes and no.
All right, that's fair.
What about you?
Um, I was thinking about the other saves that I have that aren't my legacy as well. And like in the minimalist challenge, I haven't even bothered. Like I'll invite girls over and I'll have him talk to them, but I'm like, yeah, you need to make a toilet before you start moving people in.
Yes.
um, I think you know what the thing is. This would be my caveat or whatever. It's that it's not that I don't care about the relationships or that I don't take the time to invest
Hmm.
into the other sim. It's that for me when I'm writing about the sim and I'm giving them a personality that the readers can kind of
Yeah.
attach to, that I
Hmm.
get attached to it as well. So all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Thalia's such a loving mother. Not that like I haven't had loving mother since, but she's so different
Yeah.
than whatever, like Peyton or whatever. But the truth is, probably not. But I want the
Same.
sim to feel a little different to the readers so that they can be like, oh, she's different or like
Yeah.
whatever. So that would be my thing is that I probably attach more meaning to to the things that my Sims do in the
Hmm.
Legacy Challenge because I'm writing about it than in the other games where I'm just like, well, of course they fell in love. Like I something had to have drawn them to each other for me to continue to push it. But
Right.
yeah, that would
Yeah.
be my difference, you know.
I can agree with that. I can definitely agree with that. I mean, true, when I'm playing my non-story saves, it's very hard to not come up with a story because I'm like, oh, this is so interesting and this will make such a good story. But,
Says the woman who has 15 stories in her docket.
somebody like there needs to be a lock on create a sim for me because,
Like a
jeez.
breathalyzer test that you have to take
Yeah,
like for people who text when they're drunk.
right. Or like some sort of alarm that goes off. Because every time I go in there and I create someone, I'm like, you would do good in X, Y, and Z. And ugh, jeez.
Which you know it's kind of cool because in doing that, or maybe not cool, but in doing that, you're when we go into create a sim or when we roll for the traits end up developing a lot of their emotions, which then develop our story
Yes.
too. Because if you go into create a sim and create a boring sim, you're not going to be like interested in a story, but you're like, oh, I've made this sim self assured and this, that, and
You
the
could
other
do
thing.
some things with boring Sims.
You don't need another story. Let's not brainstorm right now.
But no, 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 no. There was a sim that I made for a story that actually will exist, even though it's a lot different now. And she was a boring person, but I was going to have so much fun with her because I
Hmm.
was just going to milk all of her boring and gloom and doom. It was going to be awesome, but
But
we're
gloom
not.
and doom is not boring.
But that's what I'm saying. Like someone who isn't exciting, like self assured and you don't always have to have Sims like that to have an exciting story.
That's true, but I avoid the gloom and doom if I can. So before we wrap up our episode, the
Hmm.
one other thing I was thinking about that we've talked about are the autonomy as far as like facial expressions and body language goes, and again how maybe we as writers just use that for relationship development, or it cues, I mean, I know that there are players out there who would say that the body language and the facial expressions cue us to deciding whether or not a
Yes.
relationship is happening or whatever. But what do you think about that stuff?
I think us writers really, yeah, we totally do that. Um, there is this look that I see, especially with Brady and Julian, because he looks just like him.
Yes.
And I'm sure other Sims do it, but I noticed it especially with them because they just look so cute doing it. But at first, when I started seeing it, I thought it was this really loving, endearing thing that they had going on. It's like, oh, look at the way he's looking at her. But I kept seeing it. And then I started noticing them doing it with, not their significant other. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Okay, it could still be loving and endearing, because this is his
What's the
child.
look? What's the look?
I will have to edit it in because
Okay.
I don't have it open right now, and it might take forever to share my screen and stuff.
Okay.
But
So there's a
but
look that
okay,
will be edited.
I'll describe it for you.
Awesome.
When they're sitting and talking to someone sitting next to them, it's almost like he's grinning, and his eyes are really really kind, and
Hmm.
he's smiling,
Okay.
and yeah, I'm going to edit the picture, and I'm sorry I can't show it to you right now, but
It's okay. I'll use my imagination.
yeah, you've seen it a
I'm
thousand
sure.
times because I capture it every time in the pictures. I'm like, oh snap, look at this. But yeah, but after observing him do it, I'm like, oh, that's not what that is at all. All it is so like when they're in group discussions and there's several people talking at the same time,
Okay.
they don't actually talk at the same time. They're talking to someone else, even though there's several people speaking.
Okay.
So when you want to speak to someone, your sim self, let's say, but that person is speaking to someone else, you have to wait your turn.
Sims are
And
polite.
that's the wait, yeah, that's the wait your turn look, because they will sit there and stare at them like that for a long time. And then all of a sudden he's blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, he's just waiting.
Aw,
She's eating and drinking right now.
she has problems.
Orange juice and milk.
Yeah, it's totally fine
Right.
with spaghetti, which is always good.
Yeah.
Just saying. All right. Yeah, I think that The Sims make some of the greatest facial expressions. These
And this game.
Sims in particular are fantastic in The
Yes.
Sims 4. Um, I'm really excited about that. Can you guys leave us comments about your favorite looks
Yes.
or autonomous actions that Sims do that you think really gives them a personality different than any of the other Sims we've seen? Yeah.
Yeah. Send us a tweet or leave a comment or catch up with us on the forums if you know us from there. We'd love to hear it.
Yes, please. And I think that's all we have for you today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tune in next week. We're going to be doing one of my favorite episodes, Bringing Seasons Back.
Bring us
Um,
back.
Talking about some of our favorite, least favorite things about seasons, some things we'd like to see if and when they roll out some sort of seasons esque expansion pack for Sims 4. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Don't forget to
Yes.
subscribe, like this video, and follow us on in all of our little worlds that Jess will edit in, and you'll be able to see on here. And we hope you have a lovely week.
Yay.
Yay! Thanks for watching.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.